Hi friends, I'm Gio, writer and narrator of this story. I'm glad you joined me. We're finally getting back into my magical boyfriend. This is Chapter 4. I fell through the black flat screen in Italy, plunging into chaos. Nations blurred past as I tumbled uncontrollably through flat screen after flat screen. A kaleidoscope of black rectangles, cartwheeling together about me, an endless maelstrom of spellcraft. Erato is a wizard. What did I expect? The world spun, a dizzying blur of flashing flat-screen ads, pure Austrian chocolate bars, and late-night infomercials about Flexo Max Hypertorque armbands at only $49.99 a month. For 4 months. Snippets of TV people cracked and yelled, "Hi-ho, Silver! I'm a doctor, Jim!" and "Hello, Megan!" fragmenting into the static. Air crackled and spit of live circuits and the clean metallic bite of ozone. An electronic chaos tore at my mind. Blam! I hit something. Hard. A sudden brutal crunch. Knife-sharp pain ripped through my nose. Coppery blood spilled hot from my nose and into my mouth. Agony blinded my eyes. Tears spilled into the air, floating near me, sailing the chaos with me. My vision cleared. The thunk. I fell out of the flat screens and landed, equally as hard, on my butt. Thank God it wasn't my ruined nose. Where was I? It was familiar and not at the same time. The nowhere that was Erato's home, a room in the center of the chaos he navigated, the calm in the center of the whirlwind. He was a modern wizard with powers beyond what I understood. I curled into a ball, cradling my nose, enduring the pain until it faded. Alone. So much about my wizard remained unknown, but I remembered the love we shared, the warmth as he stood behind me, whispering, his arms circling about me, holding me tight, close, the rush of ideas cascading through my brain. The floor, a mishmash of old linoleum and cracked concrete, was cold under my touch, yet did not feel of grit. I had the chance to look around at the hundreds of flat screens on the walls, on the ceilings, standing on easels. No doors, just an auditorium-sized room draped in flickering lights and shifting shadows. It had once been an opera house with a ceiling 25 feet tall, a sloping floor no longer plagued with chairs, and a stage void of curtains, but made into a wizard's bedroom. The bed, a king-sized throne draped in charcoal gray silks, complemented bookshelves filled with ancient tomes, and display cases holding everything from fabled swords to mystic goblets and silver-encrusted necklaces made from rubies and sapphires. Yet, in the center of the room, holding a place of honor among the mystic treasures, reigned a chest of polished mahogany, hand-carved with forgotten gods holding up the lid. I surrendered to its lure. I walked over, ran my hand over the whisper-smooth surface. Warm, as if alive, my heart trembled. It was wrong. I was prying into the life of my beloved. Yet, beyond my will, I lifted the heavy lid, setting it to the side. Gold glittered underneath. Thousands of coins, maybe more. I held one, feeling its cool weight in my palm. On one side, Lady Liberty bearing a torch. The reverse, an eagle flying through rays of light. Underneath, the words United States of America. I searched for the date and found it by Lady Liberty, 1907. A quiet thrill lifted my heart, and I bit my lip. That would mean my magical boyfriend was at least 125 years old. And he only looked 22. I guess I like older men. Among the hundreds of flat screens were an equal number of paintings, drawings, sculptures, etchings, all dated. I wandered around the art gallery that was his bedroom, each work of art titled or paid homage to a specific man or woman, all different, but most were named Erato. Turner's Angel Standing in the Sun from 1846, to Louise's-Lautrec's The Bed from 1894, Michelangelo's statue of Bacchus from 1497, Manet's Jean from 1881, Rubens' Victory from 1614, a sketch by Da Vinci called Angelo Incarnata, a medieval fresco, artist unknown, but dated 1297, of angels singing above the Christ child, an illuminated manuscript page of an angel, dated 1282, sculptures from ancient Rome, from ancient Greece. Artists I'd never heard of had created portraits of either the man or the woman who had inspired them. Even a fragment from an Egyptian tomb with a hieroglyph of a woman with wings dated 2510 BCE, hanging above his kitchen, barely a dirty microwave and a mini fridge filled with Red Bulls, was the Bacchus by Caravaggio from 1596. All were original, all encased in protective flames and glass, all priceless. My boyfriend was the man I loved, but also transformed into a different individual. Man, woman, saint, sinner, angel, artist, author, musician, singer. He became their inspiration, their spark, whatever they needed. If these pictures were all of Erato, he or she was a lot older than even the Catholic Church. My immortal wizard boyfriend, who made infomercials to pay the bills, had chosen to date a nobody college student with dreams of becoming a chef. How did I compare to all his romantic adventures? Look at him. Or her. What was Erato's true form? He changed his shape as often as it pleased him. When I was with him, I was the happiest person alive. He made the ideas flow. My nose had finally stopped bleeding. The reflection on one of the flat screens showed a miserable, squashed, blood-soaked face. Mine. I sat on Erato's bed, looking for something to clean my face. I had a washcloth next to my sink. Back home, in my apartment. The nearest flat screen flickered to life. My apartment appeared, exactly as I had left it. I thought of my parents' place. Like changing channels, I spied into my parents' living room. Dad was in his favorite chair, staring back at me. "What the hell?" he said. I thought about my place, and it changed again. My apartment. Timidly, I touched the screen. My hand passed through. Was that the secret with his flat screen magic? Think of a place and it would open up? Taking a breath, I stepped through, back home, back to my apartment. I spent a few minutes in the bathroom cleaning the blood off my face and nose. Where did that zit on my forehead come from? Why can't I be more like Erato, with his flawless skin and perfect body? Some guys have all the luck. I changed to jeans and a black X96 Radio from Hell t-shirt. I got a couple of summers ago when I went to a band festival in Salt Lake City. letting the tux shirt soak to get the blood out. That summer I'd been happy and free, and I worked hard to save for tuition, but I loved every second of it. That summer had been mine. Every choice, every moment, every dollar saved. Now, standing in the bathroom, watching blood swirl down the drain, I felt like I was losing control of everything. The happiness had vanished until Erato entered my life. I bet Erato never has to deal with dirty laundry. One wave of his hand and I bet his clothes appear fresh, pressed, and smelling like roses every morning. Just like magic. The pain in my nose had dimmed to a moderate thud. I took a couple of Tylenol. No matter what I did, I looked like a freight train had hit my face. Maybe it's an improvement. I do my best thinking when I'm cooking. I checked my fridge. Mango, coconut, chocolate, and white chocolate. Inspiration knocked. Tropical mango coconut brownies with a white chocolate drizzle. I'd serve it with a California award-winning wine, a 2020 Amador Vintner Zinfandel. Its bold, fruity spice should elevate the warm, gooey chocolate to a new level. My phone remained silent. Where was Erato? Was he all right? The flat screen remained open to Erato's sanctuary. I'm glad, because it would let me see when Erato returned. I would be there, waiting. It took me 15 minutes to prepare the brownies and 30 to bake them. I chilled the wine at the same time, and when all was ready, I stepped through the flat screen and into Erato's world. I set the brownies on the table, the wine in his mini fridge, and waited. I wandered to every picture, sculpture, drawing, every display case, every ounce of his life. It felt like a violation of his privacy, but he had thrown me here. I sat on his bed, thinking, remembering, wondering, why had he chosen me? As I drifted into soft dreams, a softer noise, a quiet footstep, woke me. I lay in Erato's gray silk bed, shoes off, jeans and t-shirt neatly folded to the side. I was warm and comfortable under the homespun woolly blanket. Someone had dressed me in a casual flowy linen trousers and a loose-fitting lace-up top, all a pale golden beige. With a snap of his fingers, Erato had made me feel like royalty. I looked about for Erato and found someone else. Of all the images and paintings and sculptures in the vast room, none looked like this new person. Or was it her? He was pale and soul-weary, wearing a white toga, brown straight hair the color of old coffee, a man that could have been either male or female. He hadn't seen me. I kept quiet, observing the smoothness as he glided about the room, at home among the treasures, relaxed, at ease. His movements, almost a dance, held a note of sadness in the way his perfect form hesitated in front of some of the pieces, or especially in front of his table, now set with flickering candles and crystal sconces, with plates reflecting the glow. My plate of brownies sat in the middle, now celebrated on a golden platter. The wine bottle rested in a golden wine bucket, chilling, breathing in the air. The pale, sad man began to hum, a soft melody that spoke of spring nights on a faraway beach. He paused before a picture of 9 children, 5 girls, 4 boys, ages 18 down to 5, frolicking in a meadow. Reaching out a hand, he rested it on one of the boys for a heartbeat. He became that boy. Long, straight brown hair, bright eyes, a playful side. Happy, he released the picture, a memory from long ago, once again becoming the androgynous man with straight brown hair. I understood then. That was my Erato as a youth. This pale figure who changed. He lightly sang in Greek, a soft, enchanting voice, neither male or female. He came over to the bed. I pretended to sleep. He lay down next to me, placing his arm about me. I kept my breathing easy, steady, rhythmic. I drifted to ancient times, to a library filled with scrolls. Scribes copied each scroll with finesse and care. I was handed a scroll, and dreamlike, the far-off dawn glistened. The ideas flew into my head, songs of recipes long gone, visions of sweets and pastries I could taste. He was there, Erato, sitting beside me as I read the scroll. Real, flesh and blood, the warmth in his eyes, the softness of his touch. I kissed him on the nose and whispered, "Are you real, or am I dreaming?" His tender smile filled me with love as he took my hand. "As real as you need." "Show me the real you," I said, my heart beating loud enough to echo in the dream. Apprehension clouded his face and he pulled away. "This is me, the real me." "Then who did I see, wizard of my dreams?" I flirted, leaning in close to savor his scent. His touch, the feel of his skin, awakening to find Erato next to me in the bed looking exactly as he had in the dream. Except I wasn't dreaming any longer. An erotic thrill shivered down my spine. Erato's hand held mine, his skin coarse as if he worked with his hands. Concern shadowed his face as he looked at the ruin of my nose, his eyebrows lightly creased. I sat up, unsure of what to expect. "Allow me," he said, his voice so soft I had to hold my breath to hear him. Erato swayed close to me, a tempting, kissable quirk to his lips, his breath hot against my cheek. His hand traced my cheek, tickled the space under my eye, and finally, slowly, with a feather touch, to the tip of my nose. His touch was an electric shiver I treasured. Was that the magic? A warmth flooded my cheeks. His nearness, his caring look, the desire in my gut lingered, slowly growing, a hope of something I could not name. My nose twanged, sharp, piercing, an intensity I had never experienced before. I jerked away. Erato bit his lip as he smiled, held my hand, and kissed my nose with a softness I barely felt. My nose tingled. The pain evaporated. I reached up to touch my nose, my broken nose. But my wizard boyfriend had healed it. He kissed the end of my nose again and smiled, a thin, wan gesture with something tragic tugging at the corners. "I want you to lay down," he said. Face turned away. "Take your shirt off. Close your eyes and relax. You can't open your eyes for at least 5 minutes," Erato whispered, as if he were about to get intimate. Yet it held a pang, a longing, a sadness that betrayed his emotions. "I'm going to tell you a very old myth. You don't have to believe it, but it is true. Promise you won't look." "Cross my heart," I replied, equally as soft. The vulnerable look in his eyes, the controlled way he held his mouth, the quiet tremble in his hands. What he was about to tell me scared him. Erato reached for a pearly green, long neck vase on the stand next to his bed, his breath catching, while I pulled the linen shirt over my head and lay down, my face buried into the smooth, cool silk of his pillow. It smelled of him. I closed my eyes as he pulled a cork from the end of the bottle and poured a little oil on my shoulders. His fingers kneaded my back, my muscles, a delicate yet firm touch, as he massaged the oil into my skin. He kept silent, pausing as he massaged just below my shoulder blades. Was he debating if he could trust me? I would never tell another soul whatever he told me. I kept my eyes closed. His touch shifted from coarse hands to something lighter, delicate, but equally as strong. Not the touch of the man I had fallen in love with. The air felt thicker, heavier, charged with static. The magic again, but this time it was darker. As Erato spoke, his voice changed, not as deep or melodious, but softer, gentler, a pain hidden just behind his words. A different voice than the one I knew. My soul chilled. A different man stood behind me, yet his presence remained familiar. My father was never faithful to his wife. I refused to speak that witch's name, Erato spat, his voice catching on a memory. I hate my dad because he slept around so much, and my stepmom for what she did after. My Uncle Paul was actually my older half-brother. He watched over the 9 of us because Dad couldn't care less. Uncle Paul, the man who had died earlier tonight. I grimaced inwardly. I had never even asked Erato how he was holding up. Did he love your mother? I asked. Maybe for a little while, Erato said, his tone becoming grim. He dallied with men, women, anyone who met his fancy, including my mother, Nume. Erato swallowed, his grip becoming harder, almost violent. Mom wasn't the only person he had an affair with, but good old Dad really liked her because he visited her a lot. 9 times. I'm the 3rd child. The hidden affair family, I said. Did you ever meet your dad? Do you think Dad would want to meet his illustrious progeny? History is littered with his one-night stands. Erato's breath caught, strangled by the anger in his voice. His fingers sank deep into my muscles. Ow, gentle on the skin. I'm not made of granite, I said. Sorry, Erato mumbled, and eased up on the massage. We're one messed up family. Keep your eyes closed because we're getting to the good part. I snuggled deeper into the pillow, reveling at Erato's delicate touch. Why don't you speak your father's wife's name? Erato's hand stopped moving, and he took a slow breath before proceeding. You have to understand something. We were 4 boys and 5 girls all living quietly in a little fishing village on Thera. A family full of wizards, as you call us. He gave a sarcastic laugh, his hands tightening on my back. My stepmom or half-mom or whatever you want to call her found us. She's a very angry, bitter woman. Can't blame her with a husband like that. Anyway, she cursed my siblings and me. All of us have the same curse. I tried to turn over to face Erato, completely forgetting my promise. She's a wizard too. Don't move, Erato said, pouring a little more oil on my back. If only it were that simple. The curse? We can never appear as we really are. The only time I can be me is when I'm alone and no one is looking. As soon as anyone sees me, I automatically transform into their heart's desire. But you're a wizard, I said. For a heartbeat, I didn't believe him. Who wouldn't want a curse like this? Always desirable in somebody's eyes, always appearing at your best. The cost, though? Never a moment to be yourself. A night out with friends would be an impossibility. Only when you were completely isolated from any contact could you be yourself. Maybe, after time, the loneliness would drive you insane. Surely you can do something about it, I said. By his tone, Erato must be smiling, the sad, sarcastic kind of smile. My influence is with love, and anything dealing with love, especially if it's poetic and romantic. You can't throw lightning bolts or fireballs like Harry Potter or Gandalf, I asked. Again about to turn around, but Erato placed a hand firmly in the middle of my back, holding me in place. "No," he said, working on the small of my back. I ached to turn over, to see him as he truly was, to see the truth of the man I loved. But I couldn't. The moment I saw him, he would change. "What can you do?" I asked. Erato leaned up, his hands about my shoulders. He let out a long, deep sigh. Was I the first person he could be himself with? Was that how his curse worked? I could never see him? The real him? "I can do this," he said. The lighting in the room dimmed, shadows suggesting romance. "And this?" A light erotic jazz breathed through the room. A faint breeze blew through the candles, carrying jasmine's gentle scents. "And with a touch," he whispered, his fingers caressing my spine with teasing fire. My breath quickened. Erato snapped his fingers. A slight gust of wind twirled in the room. A heavy object lay next to me. I peeked for only a second. A 2005 bottle of Champagne Nocturne from the Rhone Valley and 2 fluted glasses. A sense of wonder filled me, and I snapped my eyes shut. "You healed my nose as well," I argued. "That's not just any trick." "Only if love is involved, love," he whispered only inches away, his voice desperate with longing. I resisted turning over as I replied, "You healed me because you were trying to seduce me? Who are you, Cupid?" The thought brought an indignant snort, a playful note of superiority in his voice. "Oh, please. Cupid is a sledgehammer with a bow and arrow. My power is romance and subtlety. I make poetry happen," he said, with pride. He trailed his fingers down my spine. I trembled and let out a soft groan. The magic in his touch brought goosebumps. "Stop that," I said, only half protesting. He laughed, the first sound of pure enjoyment I'd heard from him tonight. I closed my eyes, trying not to smile. I knew my boyfriend was a wizard. "And most important, dreams," he whispered, laying down on me, his arms holding me. The air shifted, filling with the salty twang of the ocean, the noon sun beating down on me as I lay in the sand. The air smelled of mango. His touch electrified me. Light exploded in my mind. Inspiration flashed. Within seconds, I had created the recipe for mango chicken curry, plus sides, and it would blend well with the tropical mango coconut brownies I'd come up with earlier. Ideas, ingredients, recipes, desserts, drinks, all flooded throughout my senses. A complete 5-course dinner appeared in my mind. In seconds, the sun and beach faded away. I lay in Erato's gray silk bed again, the magic fading. "Ta-da!" he said, a grim note in his playful tone. "I don't even need a wand." He rolled away, sitting on the edge of his bed. I sat up for a heartbeat, glimpsing the person he was before the curse took effect. His skin shifted from pale to a deep olive tan. His body was suddenly littered with muscles. His hair changed from dark to a copper brown. Designer clothes replaced the simple toga. The ordinary man became the breathtaking wizard I had fallen in love with. Was I in love with the curse? Or the man? Or how he made me feel? Which would I rather know? My heart's desire made flesh? Or the real man behind the magic? "That is what I do," he said, eyes pleading with me, his voice tinged with grief. He turned away as if reading the answer in my face. "Can you break the curse?" I sat next to him. It was my turn to hold him. "No," he said. A single tear dripped slowly down his cheek. to fall on the designer slacks he wore, a circle of darkness that spread. I can't break it. Somebody has to do it for me. How? Simple, really, he said, his voice seeping irony. He took my hand as if he were about to beg. I only have to find someone to love me as I really am. How? You become somebody new when anybody sees you. How can anybody get to know the real you? That's the problem. He slapped his legs and stood up. I have to go. I never asked about your uncle. How is he? Erato paused, almost as if he had forgotten the tragedy from earlier that night. Paul was pronounced dead on arrival. I stood, standing behind my love, and wrapped my arms about his chest. Erato was a little taller than me, just the way I liked my men. What happened? I asked, trying to sound compassionate, when all I wanted to do was kiss the man who was my heart's desire. It's part of the curse, he said. I don't understand, I whispered. Erato faced toward the Bacchus statue, his calloused hand warm. When I'm with others, I forget myself. I only truly remember when I'm alone. That's why this is my home. You're the first person since Farnsworth invented the television that I've let in. You forgot that Paul was shot? He nodded, but the simple gesture was stiff with pain. I took his hand and whispered, I don't pretend to understand, but I'm with you. He turned around to face me, tears heavy in his eyes. People have tried to help me, but the illusion I offered was more powerful than the truth. The pain in his gaze broke my heart. His ability to inspire love must have been working. I could see into his soul, see the weariness of never being himself, how the isolation weighed on him. Was this his last chance at being free? Before he locked himself in this room that defied logic and never came out? The exhaustion of living a life shaped by others' desires had destroyed his own. Curse is too kind a word. The woman who had done this to children innocent of what their parents had done must be a jealous harpy masquerading as a kind-hearted wife. She had done this to get revenge on her husband, never realizing he couldn't care less. You need something real, something lasting, I said, coming to a decision. Erato was still wearing his tie and tux from earlier tonight. I undid his tie. Where reality overcomes the illusions forced on you. He grinned, swaying close. Now who's trying to seduce who? I took his tie and wrapped it about my eyes, making sure I could see nothing. Just an experiment, I said. I breathed, counted heartbeats, and reached 10. The change was subtle. His coarse hand became a softer, delicate one. I hugged him. We were the same height. I ran my fingers through his hair. Straight. I dared kiss him. Even his lips felt different. His clothes had changed, becoming the simple toga again, except his tie. Now you're real, I whispered. His lips were motionless, but as they warmed, they responded to mine. Different, hesitant, not as sumptuous as before, but filled with a longing, a desperation that made my heart ache. Had I discovered the real person behind the wizard? He wasn't tailored to my ideal image of a boyfriend, of a man, of someone I could spend the rest of my life with. I touched his smooth cheek, a normal, regular face, not the face of the exotic model I had fallen in love with. Not the man I knew. This was a stranger. Erato stiffened, as if distancing himself from another failed attempt. It seemed he wanted to pierce the heartbreaking silence, but no words came out. I held his cheek, rubbing my thumb under his eye, a tender gesture, but it came away, wet, the depth of his pain hidden in one small drop. Goosebumps formed on the back of my neck. The air became heavy about us, smelling of candle wax, chocolate, and wine. We hadn't touched any of it. Can I love the real Erato? What if I didn't like the man behind the facade? Can I love someone so deeply it can break a curse? The question cooled the passion inside, only fueling my sudden doubt. Pulling back, I blurted out the question that I hadn't known bothered me until this moment. Why did you choose me? The end of Chapter 4. Chapter 5 will come out as soon as I write it. I'm Gio, author and narrator of this piece. Thank you for staying with me. I appreciate it. And thank you for all your prayers and kind words. I'm doing much, much better now. Thank you, everyone. We'll see you next time. Peace, my friends.